Hello, this is Douglas Robinson with Beyond 20. Today we're going to be taking a look at the new field level encryption feature in Cherwell 8.1.0 and higher. To take a look at some of our other videos, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/beyond20llc. The first thing that you might find yourself asking is, what is field level encryption and why would I need to use it? Field level encryption allows you to store sensitive information within Cherwell in an encrypted format, as well as audit who has access to that information and who has viewed that information. You also have the option to control who may or may not view the data within these encrypted fields within security groups as rights for that business object. So the first thing that we'll need to do to set up encrypted fields is set up an encryption key. To do that, we'll need to open up our Cherwell Server Manager tool, which I already have open, and we'll go down to this Encrypted Keys section and we'll configure it. You'll be asked to log into one of your Cherwell connections. Now here we can see I already have an encryption key set up, but you will most likely need to add one the first time you try to set up an encrypted field. To add a key, all you need to do is press this little plus icon over here and give a name to your key. You'll get a disclaimer telling you that encryption keys are not stored in the Cherwell database and that you should consider backing up your keys. The other way to add encryption keys into your encryption key management tool right here is to import them from a Cherwell key file, which is the type of file that's created whenever you export one of these keys. After you've set up an encryption key, you can go ahead and open a new blueprint and start setting up encrypted fields. I'm going to go ahead and create a new field and title it Highly Sensitive Data. This is going to be the field that we're going to encrypt. To encrypt this field, all you have to do is go to the Advanced tab of your Field Properties screen and then go down to the Encryption section. Once you press the Enable Field Level Encryption checkbox, you will be met with a disclaimer with a lot of the limitations that are present with encrypted fields. They must be text fields, so you cannot have date and time or numerical fields or logical fields as encrypted fields, only text fields. You cannot search for the values that are in encrypted fields. These fields will not show up in the selector when you're building out a search. They also won't be displayed in grids. You can't access them from one-steps or expressions. You can't use validation or auto-population on a field that has encryption, and you cannot validate or auto-populate another field from a field that's encrypted. Encrypted fields must be shorter than or equal to 255 characters. They cannot be rich text, and you cannot set them to be required for save. Once you have encrypted a field, you can't decrypt it. You would have to delete that field and then recreate it, which would remove any of the data that you had stored in that field. Once you've enabled the encryption feature on this field, you can select one of the keys that you have set up, and then you can move that field onto your form. Now, when you drag this onto your form, you're going to see a small button appear to the right of your field. And that button is actually going to be the button that encrypts and decrypts the value of that field when you press it. When a new user or a new technician goes to view this record, they will see this field with a series of password characters hiding the value of that field, and they will have to press that button off to the right of the field in order to decrypt it. There is one other option for decrypting the value of a field that we will get into a little bit later, which will actually decrypt the value of all of the fields on a form. So if we take a look at this button, we can see that it uses a command that's called Decrypt Field. This command is associated with a field. You'll see this drop-down only has fields that are set up for field level encryption on it. And even though the command is titled Decrypt Field, this will also encrypt the value of a field. So if you have to press this button to see the value of the field and you want to, for some reason, encrypt that field again, or change that field so it's no longer visible while you're viewing the record, you can press this button again. There is no separate command for that. There is also a decrypt record command, which I mentioned earlier. This one is not associated with a field. This one will just decrypt all of the fields that are on a record. It's important to note that even though this is saying that it's going to decrypt that field, it's not actually going to decrypt the data that's stored in that database. Obviously, it's only going to show you the value of that field on the form, and it's not going to leave it in an unencrypted format once you've saved the record. One of the important things that you will need to configure for your object once you have an encrypted field on it is you will have to set up an audit history configuration for your object. You cannot have an encrypted field on any object that does not have history set up within the business object properties. Now, I'm adding one to incident, which already has history configured through journals, but it is important to keep in mind when you're adding encrypted fields to other objects, if they do not have a history relationship configured, you will have to add one. If you forget about this, you will see an error message when you go to scan your blueprint before you publish it. However, since I already have that relationship set up within incident, I'm going to go ahead and save this blueprint and then publish it. Now that this is published, we can go ahead and open our blue pill. I'm going to go ahead and refresh this. Since I just published something, we will need to reload definitions. And then when we create a new incident, we will see the button here that was next to that form. Now, one of the things you'll notice immediately after you publish a change like this is that you need to set up security group settings for encrypted fields. By default, no security groups are going to have access to view or edit these fields, so you will not see them on the form until you enable those settings. So I'm going to go into our security group settings and edit the rights for the group that I'm logged in right now, which is admin. And I'm going to go on to our incident and enable view and edit rights for our object. Since I have changed the security group rights for one of these groups, I'm going to have to log out and then log back in of Cherwell. So give me one moment while I sign back into the blue pill. And then we'll be able to look at that incident record and test out that encrypted field. Now that we've set up our security groups, we can see that this field for highly sensitive data actually appears on the form since we have view access to it. Since I have edit rights, I'm going to go ahead and type in some information here and encrypt it using the button. Now, if we were to attempt to decrypt the value of this button, or of this field, then we would see the journal relationship log a journal history record showing that me, CSD admin, attempted to decrypt the field and then show the field name at this date and whether or not I was able to decrypt the value of that field. Now, if I did not have access to edit that field or to decrypt that field, you would see here that I tried to decrypt the field and failed. However, since I do have access to it, I succeeded. Now, some other limitations to consider when dealing with encrypted fields is that while you can't interact with them with one-steps, you also can't interact with them through automated processes, through update business object actions. In addition to this, you can't import data into an encrypted field using the one-off import under the database section. So if we attempt to import data using a one-off data import with a CSV file, we won't have that field available in the list of fields to import to. You also will not be able to import external data in via SQL. So any data that you are planning on inputting into an encrypted field, you will have to do manually through the technician client. At the current time, there is no way to import data into fields like this automatically. There's also no way to view the value of one of these fields if you attempt to do so through the System Analyzer tool. You will see a value of value is secured. You will also see these words value is secured if you manage to get an encrypted field into a pop-up through a one-step. It will still show the value is secured option right here. This has been Field Level Encryption with Cherwell Service Management 8.1.0. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below the video, and feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel for further videos at youtube.com/beyond20llc.